Good evening, everyone. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to finally be on here. I have been excited to talk about this topic of should you punish your child for bad behavior at school? It's a really common question I get from clients and past clients that I've had as well, because I used to work in a school and I worked in a therapeutic day school, and so there were often some challenging behaviors that went on at school, that sometimes kiddos would also, have to talk to their parents about, or I would call their parents, and parents were always wondering, is there something else that they need to do when they hear about what happened? So I wanted to talk about this because it's very important and can make a big difference in the relationship with your child. So thank you for those of you who are tuning in live, and to people who are catching the replay on this. Thank you so much for spending some time listening to a little bit of what I have to say, to really enrich your child's life. That's what's so beautiful about this is we get to chat, maybe indirectly anyway, and be able to enrich your child's life and really enrich your life too, because when their lives are better, your lives are better, and it's just a joy. You restore that peace to your heart and to your home. So let me just introduce myself really quick and why I am talking about this. So my name is Jillian. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I provide services for parents, online services actually for parents who are wanting some support in managing their children's behavior. So behavior management is my expertise, and like I said, I gained my expertise working in a therapeutic day school and have had a lot of time to work with not just kids but their families as well. And so this is a really important topic, and I know this week a lot of people are thinking about school. So you either have already started school, or school is just around the corner after Labor Day. So let's jump into this topic. So my favorite answer for things, and this is because it's my husband's favorite answer, and he kind of came up with this, is it depends. So I know that's maybe not what you're really wanting to hear at this point, but it can depend. However, I often encourage parents to really rethink whether or not they're going to provide some kind of punishment or consequence for behaviors that happen at school. A lot of times, it really is not necessary to re-punish a child for something that happened at school. Now, this is assuming there was a consequence administered from the school. So if your child was bullying and they got detention, or they had to sit out at recess, or maybe they cheated on a test and so they failed, or they, had to write a bunch of sentences. Maybe they got into some kind of argument with another student, a verbal argument, and they had to go through peer mediation, or had to sit in the principal's office. I could go on and on about different things that happen at school. But as long as there was a consequence administered at school, I often encourage parents to not re-punish the child for what happened at school. Now, let me give you a little insight as to why this is. So I worked with this sweet little guy. My goodness, loved this little guy. And he had a really hard time managing his behavior as it was. And he tried really, really hard, but it just so happened that he would have moments where he just completely lost control. And what made his situation worse was that he would start to get escalated. He would start to know that things were going to kind of go south and he wasn't doing well. And then he would say, but I don't want my mom to get mad at me. I don't want to get in trouble at home. I don't want to have to stay in my room. I don't want to let my mom down. I don't want to get a spanking. I don't want to, whatever it was. And so this actually pushed him to a new level where he absolutely was going to set himself up to fail. and it made it so that he actually acted out more because he was afraid of the consequences when he got home. So that's one example of why sometimes repunishing when they get home can actually be more hurtful than good, because it can put them a little bit more on edge. Another reason is, I don't know about you, but I think parents really tend to like it when their child opens up to them and shares what actually went on at school. So if you get into the habit of punishing your child for something that they did at school that they already received a consequence for at school, they are going to be less and less likely to actually share with you anything that ever happens at school, because they know that you're going to give them some kind of punishment or consequence, and they're going to want to avoid it. So if they can hide it, they're going to hide it. So this is why repunishing or administering another consequence is not necessarily a very effective strategy when it comes to providing your child with that teachable moment and allowing them to actually grow from the experience. So they're already probably really ticked off at the school, at whoever gave them the consequence, maybe at themselves. And so now, once they received a consequence at school, you're able to then come alongside them and have a discussion, a very open discussion about what happened, why did it happen, and how can we prevent it from happening. If you go straight to, I can't believe that you did this, and you are going to be grounded for a week, that's not going to help them learn. That's not going to help them grow. It's just going to make them more angry. And they probably already are angry. So like I said, this really gives you an opportunity to instead punish and re-consequence them, to really enter in and come alongside them and say, look, you messed up, but I love you, and I want you to learn and grow from this experience. So you already got a consequence. You can have them tell you about the consequence, what they learned from it, and perhaps maybe they're going to pretend like it was no big deal, and that may be the case. But then you can absolutely talk to their teacher or to school personnel to make sure that consequences are given that are actually meaningful to the child, because the closer you can have the consequence to the behavior, the more effective that's going to be. If you re-consequence them at home, it's really not going to lose their effect, and they're just going to think that you are mean instead of taking the accountability for their actions. So instead of re-punishing, re-escalating, re-frustrating your child for something that happened at school, I would recommend simply talking through it, discussing the consequence, also discussing the natural consequence that can also come from whatever they did. So maybe they got a consequence at school, but that's not even the natural consequence that can come from whatever they did at school. So have the teachable moment with your child as opposed to repunishing and adding more to what was already dealt with, what was already given a consequence, and use it to build your relationship with your child and help them to grow from this experience instead. So I hope that's encouraging to you all. I would love to hear your questions on this. And like I did say in the beginning of this, it does kind of depend, especially if the school doesn't follow through and give a consequence, then we maybe have a little bit of a different discussion. But if you have questions, specific questions, feel free to comment here, send me a message. I'm more than happy to take some time to chat with you and talk through your experience and make sure that you're supporting your child the best that you can. So thanks for tuning in. You all have a great night, and I'll see you later. Bye.